This is the spirit of navigating abundance. We say this all the time, that your total family wealth is a lifetime pursuit. And when you start actually giving more credit to your logistic wealth and your legacy wealth, it's going to take more effort. It's much more difficult to pass along a great legacy than it is to build a great business.
Welcome to the Navigating Abundance podcast. Our goal is to encourage you to pursue your total family wealth potential through insightful conversation with experts and thought leaders in their fields. But first, some obligatory disclosures. Navigating Abundance podcasts do not represent investment, legal, or tax advice. Any opinion expressed in Navigating Abundance podcast is solely those of Christopher Tanke and his guests and are based upon information believed to be reliable but not guaranteed. Podcasts are produced for educational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered an endorsement of the guest or the views that they hold. Information shared may not be appropriate for your personal situation. Consult a qualified advisor for guidance. Investment advisory services are offered through Strategic Financial Group, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Navigating Abundance is a trademark of Strategic Financial Group, LLC. And now here's your host, Chris Tanke.
Hi, welcome to our Navigating Abundance podcast. My name is Stephanie Greene, and I am joining my dad today, Chris Tanke, on this podcast episode. And today we're going to be talking to you and walking you through the essential file. And this is a big project that we've put together here over the past few months, and we are very excited to share it with you. So I'm going to give you a little synopsis of what the essential file is, and then we'll talk about how we think it can benefit just about anyone. So the essential file is a dynamic database of personal information, accomplishments, resources, and desires. More than just a list of assets and account numbers, the essential file also serves as a testimony to what you have built, how you have lived, and the legacy you wish to leave behind. Organized around the Navigating Abundance total family wealth concept, the essential file will be of particular use of those who have empowered to manage your affairs should you undergo incapacitation or you need to settle your estate.
And this is what it looks like. Look at that.
It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful thing. I'll make a few comments here of why we did this. Essentially, it became really clear to us that as we're talking about all sorts of different concepts, different ideas that you might want to try, different documents that you might want to gather or make sure that you have done, and different projects you might want to begin, it began clear to us that really we should be encouraging you to gather it together and to compile it somewhere. And we deal with a lot of folks in managing their personal wealth. And oftentimes, even the most rudimentary things are difficult to find when a child comes into town in case there's an incapacitation issue or maybe even a death. And they're asking for documents that are difficult to collect because they weren't organized ahead of time. So,
or maybe they were organized, but it's in dad's nuanced, color-coded, but that doesn't make sense to you. I'm not saying you as dad, I just mean like the person who passed, that's very nuanced way of organizing these important documents, and it does not speak to everybody.
For sure. And so the concept here is if you're looking at total family wealth, and we'll talk about ledger wealth, logistic wealth, and legacy wealth, there is a lot there. And so we thought it would make sense to try to gather it together and at least it serves one opportunity to say, okay, if there's a list in front of me of things that I need to do under this specific category, I can benchmark myself to say, have I done that? Should I do that? How far along am I? Or, I did that 20 years ago, like a certain trust. And I've been wanting to refresh it. Well, there it is right in front of you in the essential file saying, how you coming along with this? It's a way to not only identify what I should be doing, but also to ask a couple questions. Have I done it? And secondly, where is it? Where is it? Right. So that's what we put this together for. And it's Steph, as you said, it's a dynamic database because you're never really done with this. Life changes too much. Big events happen. And, you might want to cut somebody out of your will. Hey, we've got to redo the essential file or at least update it. Right. So this is something that we want you to look at, at least annually, or when you have significant events, which would include maybe the amendment of a trust, that you're updating your essential file to make sure it's fresh, so it's good data. So it's a combination, as you'll see, a list of things that you might want to include for those that have to help you in the future, or even to use with some of your professionals now. But it also it's more than that. It's a vision. And when we talk, especially in the last part, the legacy vault of this, it's not so much a list. It really is an opportunity for you to start thinking about, under the 5 areas of legacy wealth, what should I be adding, or how am I doing in this area, or that's a good idea, maybe I should begin. So it's much more than a list, but it does start out that way. So that's how I would say it. And it is essential, Stephanie.
Well,
It's an essential file.
I was just going to add, what I love so much about this is, I think just even our young 20 couples, at church, I talked to them a little bit about building out, an essential file, but it's very small. The information they need to gather is very small. When you're at a certain asset level, when you have a business that you're in charge of, when you've got family, what I love about the essential file is I think it's going to raise a lot of flags for people of, hey, this is something that I should think about that you otherwise normally wouldn't have. Because a lot of, again, those other file areas that you can work on or gather information about, they're not as robust. And I think, again, when we're working with these type of families, more needs to go into it. That you just have to. There's a lot that you're going to be not thinking about. This will bring that up for you.
And some families, of course, have significant assets, some not as much. Some families have very complicated dynamics going on, some not as much. I would say that 60 to 70% of everything we'll be talking about applies to you, whether you have $100,000 or $100 million. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes, when you look at this, you're saying, wow, I've got to move beyond that. I've got to improve and start gathering. I think in one of the areas we talk about from vapor to paper, mm-hmm. and that is, if you have the idea in your head, that's really good. But if you're no longer here, it goes with you. So we've got to get what's down in your head, or even what you've talked about with other folks that isn't in your head, but in a file somewhere. We have to get it gathered and collected and down and codified and written so that it can be usable and that you can use it as a benchmark to how you're doing. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the idea of this. So we developed around the total family wealth framework. And if you've used our materials at all, if you've gone to our Navigating Abundant website, you understand we're all about this. We'll put this up right now for you to take a look at this. But your total family wealth is really divided into 3 categories. Your ledger wealth, which is your financial capital, your logistic wealth, which is your functional capital, and your legacy wealth, which is your family capital. Those are 3 areas of riches that we all possess. And it's sad, actually, that most people, when you say, hey, how rich are you? What are you worth? They go immediately to the ledger wealth, right? Yep. My financial statements. And we think that's important. And we talk about that. You got to do that. You need a ledger wealth vault. We'll discuss that. But your logistic wealth, which is your professional teams you put together and the documents you put together that we spent a lot of money on to produce, those are very valuable to you. You should treat them with respect. And then your legacy wealth is the most valuable thing you could ever own, because 100 years from now, your ledger wealth isn't going to matter nearly as much as your legacy wealth. We go to bat for saying, wow, you need a total balanced view of a total family wealth approach. And that's what the essential file really is organized around, or arranged around, the total family wealth concept. So we think that would be also reaffirming and clarifying. If you've been following the total family wealth concept anyway, you're going to understand immediately, oh, that's what they're doing. They're putting it under this category, this slot, this vault. I understand that. This serves a lot of important needs for you, if you can just start to think about how we're doing this, and then to put your family and your situation into essentially these files. That's how I would say it. So if we and we're reading this, by the way, but this is so fresh that the ink is still smudging.
It's a very well-loved document, but it is fresh.
Oh, man, it is. And, it's interesting. We just talked about this about an hour ago. We say early on, and you can get a copy of this on our website. We'll share how you can do that. But early on, we just wanted to say, first paragraph, this is a dynamic database. That means it's not a set it and forget it. And then we just looked at each other and said, really, for us, it's a dynamic file for us, because we're ever going to be tweaking this and changing it and updating it. So, but for now, it's organized around 6 different parts: your personal information, your plans for later life assistance, your ledger wealth vault, your logistic wealth vault, your legacy wealth vault, and then supporting resources. So we want to refer back to that as well, so that we can let you know what other people are saying about this, not just us. So that's what we'll do. So let's take a look at these these 5 parts here. And the first is your personal information. And this is your name, rank, and serial number, all that kind of stuff, of course, that you need to have together to empower a lot of decisions that even your kids might be making for you if you can't make them on your own, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, children's names might change and they might get remarried and all that kind of stuff, a dynamic database. Under marriage and family, we understand that. But then how about your community? That's another subcategory. So what church do you go to or whatever? What synagogue? What close friends do you have, or social groups or country clubs or organizations? Are you a veteran, et cetera? Let's say upon your passing, it will be important for those that are opening up this file to say, wow, we should contact these people and let these people know. Or maybe the military is going to do something for a graveside salute or whatever the case might be. But again, you know this, but do they? Obviously, your medical records, really important. And there's a lot there. We've got like 14 different bullets on that, but including medical power of attorneys. What kind of dietary restrictions are you on in case you go to a facility, medications you're on, et cetera, family doctor, family histories, et cetera. Personal information includes passwords. Again, we have like 14 dots on that. Membership accounts, you might have passwords, PINs, your email, how do you get into it, cell phone PINs, what credit cards do you have, how do you get into them, et cetera. Again, imagining that you don't have this and somebody comes in and they're trying to clean up the estate and try to take care of your arrangement, they're going to go on a significant Easter egg hunt if you don't keep this up to date and available to them, right?
We were at an event out in the Grand Rapids, Michigan area, and the person facilitating the event said that when you put together an essential file like this and actually fill it out, you're giving your family the gift of grief, right? So if something were to happen and you were to pass, your family doesn't have to go on that Easter egg hunt. They know where everything is. They can just focus on grieving and taking care of each other and of themselves. And then when it's time to figure out how to pay those bills or get into XYZ account, they know exactly what to do. And if you just truly, what a gift that would be, right? To be able to give to somebody.
That's right. And when we get into your logistic vault and you're talking about all the professionals and the contact information, what a lifeline they would be to you at that point.
Absolutely.
And again, you all know this, but is it all together? That's the point, right?
Yep.
We even have a category about home maintenance, right? Who's your utility provider? Are you in a HOA, right? Do you have any mortgage contracts to be involved with, et cetera, et cetera? So those are the categories: home maintenance, passwords, medical records, your communities you developed, and marriage and family information. This is the easiest part of it all, but there's still, you can't get all this done in a weekend.
Yeah. There's a lot to it.
But this is the easiest list. The second list is a little more complicated. My later life assistance. So in other words, what are your desires? Should you need care? Should you need help? Or if you're pushing up daisies, what are your desires there, right? So we think in terms of assisted care. What are your care preference needs? Do you have a care coordinator that you've already been talking to, somebody that can look over your complicated affairs? What kind of wishes do you have? End of life wishes, quality of life wishes, et cetera, et cetera. These are things that are unpleasant to think about, but it's all the more unpleasant if we need them and haven't thought about them. And then, of course, your funerals, right? And down to, what do you want your obituary to say? We've had some people write their own. It's kind of interesting. And, do you have prepaid funeral expenses? Do you have a plot? Where are they? Who should be notified upon your demise, et cetera, et cetera? Start gathering that stuff together so that they can have access to that. And so that you can make sure that what you really want to have happen is going to happen. Right? Be proactive with this. Now, none of this is earth-shattering, and you know it, right? And you have a lot of this. So what I would say is go through the list, see if there's something you're missing, see if that's a valuable thing to add, and then go beyond that to say, should I start putting this in the essential file?
And the answer would
start
be yes.
Gathering it. Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Now we get into the vaults. This is your Ledger Wealth Vault, your Logistic Wealth Vault, and your Legacy Wealth Vault. So your Ledger Wealth Vault, as we're describing it here and coaching you and encouraging you, is really your financial capital. And that's a detailed list of your collective assets that make up your net worth. So this is not a difficult thing to accept and to understand. I understand my ledger wealth because that's what I think about wealth anyway. So obviously your financial statements, tax returns, investment portfolios in there. If you have to safety deposit box, where is it? What's the number? What's the combination? What's in it? If you decide to put that in, you may not right here. And the other important consideration, who has access to it and when? Your real estate portfolios, including copies of your deeds, loans you might have. Are you working with a real estate team? Do you have a real estate attorneys? What is their contact information? Because again, here's someone to lean on as well. They can help you with the documentation. Property managers that you might be utilizing, that's part of your real estate portfolio. How do you get in contact with them, et cetera? And the business interests that you might have, whether it's a fractional business or whole, whether you have value or equity positions, promissory notes, structured settlements that you're receiving, any of these sorts of things. Gather them. Somebody's going to have to make sense out of all of this. And if they could do it at one place, they will rise up and call you blessed, right? Life insurance policies, the same thing. And we consider life insurance, since it's income tax free and if done correctly, can be estate tax free, a significant asset. Well, we should know it exists. We should see the policies and we should know who wrote it. You might have significant collections. Where are the appraisals for your antique clock collection, right, Stephanie? Where are those appraisals? And, passwords, codes, and those sorts of things. And the experts you rely upon to build your collection. If they know you, that might be a really good contact for your loved ones to make. Your vehicles, and then out of sight assets. We talked about safety deposit boxes, but how about your hidden assets? Who's going to know where to start digging? And when do they get the shovel? What's your plan there? Some of you have that stuff and enjoy that, and that's great. But you don't want it to stay in the ground if you're passed on because people don't know how to access all that. Is this obvious? Perhaps. Could we probably do a better job with this? Yes. That's all we're trying to do here. We're trying to prod you to say, come on, let's get this going and let's keep it fresh.
Yeah. And I would encourage you, even if your spouse is not really involved in this area of things, when it comes to meeting with those professionals that you're going to be listing in your essential file, like the real estate attorney or estate planning attorney, I do really want to encourage that they've had some kind of contact with that attorney. I'm just thinking in worst case scenario, right? If you're no longer here and they're digging out this essential file and they're talking and asking questions of all these people they've never met before, a simple introduction takes 5 minutes and can make a big difference in the future.
Yeah. And everybody has different acumen and interests.
Yep.
If there's a certain a family member or spouse that is not into investments or business considerations, there's a certain basic level that we're almost insistent that they know.
Yeah. Yep.
And we make sure that it's not a laborious thing to understand it. But because we believe that the most impactful, successful decisions are the high altitude decisions. And so if even the person that's not their thing can come in and have some understanding, that's going to go a long way. And that's sort of kind of like the modus operandi of our firm just in general. So that's a very good point, Stephanie. All right, let's move over to my logistic wealth. Ledger wealth is my financial stuff. We get it. Your financial capital. Your logistic wealth is your functional capital. And that's the people and the plans and the legal documents you've assembled and paid a lot of money for to formalize your life and to keep it running well. We've already talked about reaching out to some of the professionals, right? Even in the ledger wealth, how valuable it would be. Now we're just going to expand this list. Under several areas, you have an advisory team, you have financial plans, you have business documents, you have philanthropic plans, you have personal legal documents, and an insurance portfolio. These are all heavily dependent upon the professionals that you have brought into your life to help you design these things or to obtain these things. So your advisory team, your business attorneys, your business partnerships, wealth managers, financial planners, CPAs, cybersecurity firm. That's a big deal with what we're doing. And as you know, a lot of you are really starting to beef that up as well.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, that's an advisory team for sure. So some of you might have a family consigliere, somebody that you really do lean upon that your kids are not really even aware of, that person should have been brought in with understanding that they're part of your team. So basically identify them. How do you contact them? What are they doing for you? How do they even work together? Describe, explain, identify your advisory team. That's your functional capital. Very, very important to have in your logistic wealth vault. And you already have it. Gather it. We just gather it, organize it. Your financial plans, right? Including retirement plans, your tax plans, risk mitigation plans. How does your income work right now? What is your estate tax plan? Now, again, for some of you, the estate tax planning you've spent millions and millions of dollars to create it. And you have teams of people working on it. You might just rather just writing out a few lines here, just say, get a hold of this firm and these CPAs, and they can explain how we're proceeding with this. So there's some frustration in this because really, wow, you could spend months on just a couple of these bullets. And right now we're just breezing over them as a concept. And everybody is different. Whatever you need to do is fine, but make no mistake, your financial plans are of great, great value to you.
Yep.
Your business documents, right? Need we say more? Do you have that? I mean, we have a family-owned business. Great. Where do we get a hold of the partnership agreements? What are the succession plans? Is there deferred comp that's going on right now, right? And you've retired. What is that? How long does it last? Are you involved with business banking? Do you have, what are the insurances for this business? Or even if, again, you have, you're a silent partner, or you just have business ownership and aren't involved, what are those arrangements? That could be some of the most valuable things that you own. We should know how it works, or especially those that may not even be aware that they exist, right? So start gathering that up. Your philanthropic plans, we'll talk about this later as a family, but basically what's important to you? What are your ongoing pledges? What have you been supporting? What would you like to continue to support? If you have a personal donor advised fund, how can they get in contact with those folks? Those sorts of things. The obvious is personal legal documents, wills, trusts, distribution of personal properties and deeds and durable powers, financial powers, HIPAA releases, all that stuff. And you can have a lot of legal work done. Make sure that they can get their hands on it. Make sure that you can get your hands on it. You might go through some of this and say, yikes, that special needs trust, so important, but it is 8 years old. We should probably relook at this. Things have changed in our lives. Good. If going through the essential file just gets you to do that, fabulous. We've done our job, right? Again, we're just trying to encourage you and help you get organized here and to think through some of these things as well. All right. So far we're getting more and more difficult, right?
We want to start you guys off easy.
Oh, yeah. My personal information, okay. My plans for later life, I have to think about how I want that to work. That takes a little more work than, hey, where's our social security numbers?
Yeah.
Then our ledger wealth is almost like just a checklist, right? My logistic wealth, all of a sudden now it's, hey, how does this all work together? Who are the professionals? And, what kind of things might I need that aren't always at my fingertips so I can get them accessible? That's fine. But now we're into, I think, the one that's the most work of all. So if you haven't left so far, that's good. And this is also, this is the spirit of navigated abundance. We say this all the time, that your total family wealth is a lifetime pursuit. And when you start actually giving more credit to your logistic wealth and your legacy wealth, it's going to take more effort. It's much more difficult to pass along a great legacy than it is to build a great business. And so I hope you understand that, because what you're talking about is generations of people. Yeah. And by the way, people can be messy sometimes. So there's a lot of thought that might go into this. So as we get into, we went from your ledger wealth, your financial capital, to your logistic wealth, your functional capital. Now we're into your legacy wealth vault, and that is your family capital. This is the people.
And don't skip this part. As Dad just said, don't skip this part. Sometimes people will get to certain areas in an essential file type situation and think, oh, that's not important. But as Dad said, this is everything. If you are amassing and leaving all of this money to kids that can't handle it, this is everything.
I think the first 4 parts are there to support part 5 to make this happen.
Yep.
And I believe that, now that you might not agree with that, but the more that you can find yourself in agreement with that, I think the more successful your life will be. I really do. And we get real philosophical and touchy-feely here sometimes, but I'm telling you, 50 years from now, this is going to matter.
Because again,
it's really going to matter.
We always just say this, it's the money is just stuff. The business is just stuff, right? That's not life. Now we're getting into the life of it. This is what's important.
And because we're getting into the life of it, we can't expect that we can accomplish it with a checklist like some of these other things that we've done. In your Legacy Wealth Vault, we don't give a checklist to fill, as it were, or to judge yourself against. What we're doing is talking about the different categories that you might want to be pursuing, asking you, have you been doing that? Encouraging you to go from vapor to paper if you've been doing it. Start collecting what you've been doing, what you want to do. Write down your ideas on how to make contributions to your family capital. And then we're going to offer suggestions to prod you to consider doing some more or to add a few. Not to be overwhelming, but to just, again, if you could pick one, two things out of what we're saying here and do it for the next couple of years, it could be revolutionary to your family. And that's the fun part of navigating abundance, I think. So your Legacy Wealth Vault contains your past, present, and future contributions to your family capital. That's your relationships and the wisdom and the visions and values and traditions and the blessings that you wish to pass to future generations. Your legacy wealth is that priceless non-financial inheritance that you hope to leave for your children and grandchildren. And the very nature, as we said, of its personal impact and generational endurance positions your legacy wealth as the greatest asset that you or your family could ever hope to own. So this is definitely not going to be accomplished in a weekend, and that's okay. So our goal is not to create a list, but to say, here's 5 categories of legacy wealth that you might want to make sure that you're doing something in, or maybe to add a few opportunities here that we might suggest. And this is not exhaustive by any sense of the imagination, but we're just trying to prod you along, at least initially. So the big idea here is in your Legacy Wealth Vault, we're encouraging you to do things. Number 1, recognize and organize your past and current legacy wealth efforts, because you've been doing a lot of stuff. Maybe you have a family vacation that you take every year, no matter what, and it's just part of what we do. Well, guess what? That's legacy wealth. That's fabulous, and we talk about that. Maybe there is some kind of mutual desire to serve or to give. You have a family project, something that you're proud of and that your children and grandchildren are proud to be involved with. And every year you're accomplishing that. You care about it. You're growing your benevolence to it. That is legacy wealth. What you're teaching your grandchildren, fabulous stuff. So you have some of this already. Maybe some of the stories that you've been telling. That every Christmas Eve you tell the story and about the family, and the kids remember that. That's how a lot of legacy historically has been passed on for millennia, is stories. That is legacy wealth. So you have some. What we're saying is identify it, collect it, and make sure that you're continuing it, and then consider some other ideas that we might have for you here. Does that make some kind of sense?
I was just going to bring in one of our family legacy wealth traditions, I guess you'd call it. I think I'd mentioned this in a previous podcast that we did for Navigating Abundance. But one of the things we started when I was elementary school age is every year we would go to Bronner's, which is the world's largest Christmas store, I think, in the nation, if not the world. And every single year we would go and we would get $5 to buy a Christmas ornament. And that's what was put on our tree. And so even
this
just
is
now,
in the 80s, everybody. This is in the 80s. So $5 went a long way.
Well, just
what
even no, gosh, no. Well, notice even now that when I'm putting up, Christmas decorations with my kids, because I have little boys, our Christmas tree is filled with those ornaments that I remember getting when I was a kid. And so we're going to continue that tradition with my boys. And how cool is that we're now building their family Christmas tree that they'll eventually do with their kid. It's just for me, when it comes to those traditions, you want to protect those and make those a priority. And, as much as you can, especially when life gets busy, you got to come back to it because that is the life of it. It's not the $5. Yeah. It's that the life of it is the experience and tradition.
Yeah. And traditions are so important for family continuity and family appreciation and belonging and all that sort of stuff. This is just what we do. And a lot of you have those. And as Stephanie said, they're easy to lose. So you have to fight sometimes for them.
Yep.
Keep fighting for them. They're so super important. They are going to remember that. When I'm dead and gone, my children and grandchildren are going to remember Bronner's and what we did. And I don't like Bronner's. It drives me nuts. But anyway,
It's
Too much.
overwhelming.
Ah,
All the
it's
glitter, all
tinsel
of the
on steroids.
yeah.
But the kids go crazy, and if they can come up with ornaments that they're hanging on their tree, remembering when they were with Papa picking them out, sheesh,
Yep.
I'm a rich, rich man indeed, even though I'm not even here.
Yep.
So your essential file is organized in this area about your legacy vault under 5 categories: your family relationships, your family ethos or spirit, your family wellness, your family practice, how you make decisions, and your family philanthropy as well. And we believe quite strongly that out of anything we could ever share with you about pursuing a total family wealth success story, the greatest thing you could ever spend time, money on, far more than your trust work, far more than your investment portfolio, your real estate, far more than your business valuation. The greatest thing you could ever spend time, money, and sweat and tears into is develop a heart of giving in your family. And we'll talk about that in a second too. So sorry, I'm going to get off the soapbox. We're going to put up for you right now your Legacy Wealth Amplified, which essentially is just looking at your legacy wealth categories under these 5 areas, and then there's bullet points under each of these. And so we've expanded it, and when we then started saying, here's some things you can do to consider improving your legacy wealth vault or organizing it, and to cast vision, we have a little bit more meat on the bones of things you can do. Now, I'm going to say this too. When you do get a copy of the Essential File, you're going to realize that the first third of the Essential File covers 1 through 4. The second 2/3 of the Essential File covers this, your legacy wealth. So you can see where our priorities are, but you can also see that we're just not producing lists. We're also trying to coach you and prod you to consider some of these things. And again, many of you are so much better at this than we are. We're not the experts on this. We're just saying, hey, here's some ideas just to scratch the surface. All right. So as we don't want people to get overwhelmed as they go through this, don't do that. Just pick 1 or 2 things maybe to add to what you're doing, or to maybe supercharge what you are doing and want to do better. And man, we're accomplishing our goal and do that every year. So as we go through this exercise, 3 things we ask you to think about. What am I currently working on that falls under this example or this category already? Second, should I think about adding this idea to my legacy wealth planning? And third, I like this, we're going to hold you accountable. Have I clearly documented my past, present, and future legacy wealth projects and ideas yet? Right? From vapor to paper. Let's think about it, but can't leave it up here, right? Let's write it down, and we encourage you to do it. So basically, I don't know if I'm going to go through all of these, probably not. Category 1, family relationships. The big question is, what can I be doing to encourage love within my family? And we talk about different things that you can do there. Category 2 is family wellness. The question's a little different. That question here is, what can I do to support the personal fulfillment of each family member? Physical, mental, spiritual, vocational, educational.
I like this. Because I think sometimes you can get, my kids are little and I get stuck on this, thinking of what they should become versus who they are, right? I like this to talk to them about, what do you guys want to do in a career? Is it work in the family business? Is it not? Yeah. Oh, I like this, Dad.
Yeah. Well, here you go. We can be a little spicy, but if that gets people to move, that's great. Vocation or calling. Let me read this. Just a couple sentences. Many movies have been made and novels written surrounding the drama of a son or daughter choosing their own path versus joining the family business. This dynamic tension is sure to produce excellent entertainment, but equally sure to produce damaged families in real life, right?
Yes.
We are all fearfully and wonderfully made, and that guarantees that not all of our children or grandchildren will be like us. What an honor and blessing it is to be able to encourage and support each family member to become all they were created to be.
And so
man, that's just so poetic.
Oh, it was written.
Who wrote that?
I'm just thinking about because this is not my first vocation. When I first started out in a different career, and Dad, you were like, I think you should go into this area instead, but you held your tongue. You let me do it. So yeah.
Well, the truth of the matter is, not all of our kids are like us, and that's in a lot of ways that's really good news. So I mean, yeah. So make sure that's a paradigm shift for lots of families. to say maybe that person doesn't have to be in the family business, or that's not our expectation. That might be our desire, or maybe
Yeah.
they'll come back later. That was really what Steph did.
Mm-hmm.
But, you've got to let them find out who they are, and that's your job. And so when it comes to family wellness, helping them become all that they want to be in their vocation and calling, et cetera. And we talk education, all sorts of stuff. Category 3 is family spirit or family ethos. The big question here is, what can I do to encourage an appreciation within our family? So important. And we talk about history and roots and stories and core values and traditions. How do you encourage family roots and that appreciation for that? We talk about digitizing some of your family blessings that you might want to give to others, or some of your stories. Again, for millennial, all you had was the spoken word, and people became really good storytellers of necessity because that's how we understood where we came from. Gee whiz, now you can record it.
Mm-hmm.
And what a powerful thing that would be. 200 years from now, somebody to look at your recording, telling about a story. It's their great, 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 great grandfather talking about coming over on the Mayflower or whatever the case might be. Wow. What would you give for that? I'd give a lot of money to have that.
Yeah.
You can do that. Neat
It's something
stuff.
as simple too, where I don't think I told you this, Dad, but my husband and I were going to start this year for our wedding anniversary. We're going to call it our family's birthday and get a birthday cake and get the boys to celebrate, because that was when our little nuclear family started, is when my husband and I got married. So that's just kind of like a very small way that we're getting even our young kids into this sort of appreciation for the family and where they came and how it all started with bribing them with cake.
Yeah. And by the way, that quickly spills over or melds into core values, family core values.
Mm-hmm.
And usually when family stories were told, they were there to teach a value, right?
Yeah.
So we talk about family core values. We talk about how you might want to develop a family mission statement, ways you can go about doing that. You might look for opportunities to exercise your core values. So I wrote down here, let's say you identified that one of your core values is we want to look for opportunities to apply our values as a family project. Kindness is one of our core values. Well, let's model it and get your grandchildren together to pass out cold bottles of water to strangers on a hot summer day in the park as a random act of kindness. And by the way, we've done that before and it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
If protecting the environment is a core value, then go back the following weekend and pick up all those empty bottles. But the point is, it just doesn't sit on the page. You're saying, how do we exercise this together as a family? And your kids will remember that. They will remember that. And we talk about an ethical will, a non-binding document that that you would write, different from a blessing letter. That's for personal people, kids. But an ethical will is generally addressed to the entire family. And again, I'd love to have a great grandparent on a recording saying, I don't even know you, but I just want you to know, here's the core values. Here's what made me who I am. Here's what I hope that you never have to go through. Don't make this mistake or whatever. It would be priceless stuff. You can do that. You can do that. You should do that. How valuable. Wow. Super exciting. Category 4 is family practice. We want to encourage you to do that. The question here is, what can I be doing to encourage unity in my family? Not unity of decision, but unity of spirit or decision making, because not everybody's going to agree all the time, right? So we talk about family meetings, family governance, family trust, family treasury, not in great detail because we can't in this format, but we're raising the concepts and then giving you resources to go further if you'd like to delve deeper into this. Again, the goal is not unity of thought. The goal is unity of spirit. In other words, we're going to agree to disagree agreeably.
Yeah.
How can we develop those kind of hearts in our folks? So how do you make decisions together as a family? Do you have a family council? Do you have what's called a family treasury? If you're a larger family and you have significant assets, you might want to figure out that if somebody has a request for some money or would like a loan or whatever, maybe it's not a good idea for just one person, the Gen 1 person or couple, to make that decision. That's a lot of pressure. No, come up with a group of people that make that decision together as a family and have the parameters on how to do that and what the requirements are and what the expectations are. That will help with family harmony a lot. And then grantor letters are really neat too. So you have wonderful trust work, but trusts are there really primarily to say, this is what I want and this is how I want it to be done. And they're perfect for that. They're great for that. Long after you're gone, those things will happen because they're codified, they're legal. But what about the why behind it all? Why did I want that done? What was I thinking? What were my concerns? What are my aspirations? And again, you might have a child who's disappointed with the way the trust was worked out. But if they have a grantor letter that accompanies the trust explaining it, at least they'll have the context of your decision. They still might be disappointed, but at least they'll know why you did what you did. And a lot of trusts, the why is not there.
Yeah.
So what a great thing to do for the unity of your family. And again, a way to teach, a way to share your heart. Yeah. And then finally, coming in for a landing, this is sort of frustrating for me, Stephanie, because there's so much awesome stuff to talk about here. But that's why you need to get this essential file and start plowing through it.
Yes.
And maybe you can find something that'll inspire you, right? Family philanthropy. The big question, what can I be doing to develop a heart of generosity within my family? So as we say it here, I'm going to read it. Here at Navigating Abundance, we believe that one of the greatest contributions you could ever make to the advancement of your total family wealth would be to ignite a spirit of generosity deep within the hearts of your children and grandchildren. Do that, and your pursuit of total family wealth will be far more joyful and productive. And we talk about developing a heart of joyful giving through personal engagement, how you might use donor-advised funds, even in holiday traditions, things that you can do using a donor-advised fund. And of course, you might be more advanced in that with a family foundation and those sorts of things. But the idea is to develop a heart of giving and generosity and appreciation and of stewardship. I'm going to read this, joyful giving. Generous people at the core are grateful people. Generous people truly appreciate how blessed they are and look for ways to help others by way of their wealth. Since their worldview doesn't revolve around self, they strike out each day with a "it's not about me's" philosophy. They act out of an abundance posture, not a scarcity posture. Their glass is always half full, never half empty. They are beautiful, positive, well-grounded souls. Chances are you would really like them. Now, practically speaking, can you imagine how much more progress you'd be able to make in improving your family relationships, wellness, ethos, practice, if most of your children and grandchildren approach the world in that way?
Mm-hmm.
Or the effect this attitude might have even carried over into your family business, your family office, and your family relationships with money? Revolution. So think about, and we give some opportunities here, things to consider. How do we start letting people know, really understand that I am blessed beyond deserving? This is not about me. I'm in a position here. I have responsibilities to recycle what I have into this world.
Mm-hmm.
And watch your family soar.
Yeah.
You can do that. Yep. Neat stuff. So that's it. So yeah, maybe not 1 week, maybe 2 weekends you get all this done. But the idea is it's giving you something to shoot for. It's a lifetime pursuit, really. But now at least you can start organizing your thoughts around it, we would say.
Yeah. And I was going to encourage too, I mean, as you're going through the essential file and you're inputting all of the data and it's getting you to think about some things, as you go about your day-to-day business, your estate planning attorney will call you and I got to put that in my essential file. So I think that as you get started, you're going to have a really great foundation of all the things that you can easily grasp or easily think of. And then throughout the next month or so, things will just naturally pop up that you realize like, oh, that should go into my file. And I think once you really get into the swing or into the mindset of looking for things that should be added to this file, it will fill up in a very natural, fluid, kind of quickly way. And it won't feel so daunting. That's just been my experience. It won't feel so daunting if you're always looking for opportunities to fill it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And you eat the elephant one bite at a time.
You have to.
So just take a couple chomps. That's all we're saying here. But it certainly is, I think, none of this is revolutionary, but I think the way that it's organized for you kind of makes the odds of you seeing improvement in collecting this stuff, I think, perhaps a little bit better. Now, some of you might have a better system. That's awesome. That's fantastic.
Make sure someone else knows your system, though. You can't.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Be the only one to know it.
It's a lousy system if other people don't know your system.
Yeah, exactly right.
So
yep.
It can't pass on with you.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, so please check that out. There were a few comments, I think, Steph, we were going to share with people about how to approach this thing.
Exactly. Because again, it might, as you get this document and you start to open it, it could, again, seem a little overwhelming or a little daunting. As we said, elephant one bite at a time. You will get it done because you are going to be motivated. You're going to keep working on it. But here's a couple of bullet points I just want to put into your head as you're preparing yourself to enter into the season of gathering this information, and then just ongoing as you are updating it as needed. But here's a couple pieces of advice that I have for you. One is to take inventory. So as you're working through your essential file, what is already documented? What do you have half done that needs to be completed? And what is completely missing entirely? My recommendation for you is, once you've input what's been completed, when you have the option to focus on what's incomplete or what's missing, focus on what's incomplete. So now you have even more things completely done. Check off your list, then dive headfirst into the completely missing categories. 2 is identify gaps that you may have. And that's what I like so much about this essential file is, as you're reading through it, I think it's robust, that it's going to bring up certain areas or certain ideas that you didn't even consider, but realize the importance of now. So just go into it thinking, I'm going to identify some gaps, and that is okay. It's good that you identify them versus never even consider those things. I would encourage you to pay certain attention to your logistic wealth and your legacy wealth. As Dad said, those are 2 areas in your essential file that people have a hard time thinking through and categorizing. So just pay closer attention to those 2 areas. My third point is engage your advisory team. So your essential file is a tool to not only get all of your information down for your loved ones, but also for those professionals that are helping you on the day-to-day or will be helping your loved ones when you're no longer here, able to make those decisions for yourself. So lean on them quite heavily for documentation. If you have a large estate plan that you know they gave you 10 years ago, you just ask your attorney for it. Save yourself some time. Lean heavily on them when it comes to documentation, because they'll get you up to snuff with what you need to have.
Yep.
Once you have this essential file done, it's never done. We want to encourage you to review it at least once a year. And most certainly, if there's major life events, a kid got married and now her last name changed, or there's a birth in the family, most certainly take a few minutes, look through this, see what do I need to change to reflect those big life events. And just, if you keep it updated, it's going to be a lot easier to keep it current and to keep it relevant to where you're at in your life. We do recommend that you safeguard your original documents. So as I talked about with that estate plan, once you find that estate plan document, I would recommend, just even like one of those boxes that will survive a fire and explode. Put it all into one place with your essential file. Put everything in one place and organize it.
And maybe have a second copy held elsewhere, maybe at the professional's office.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Again, I just think about not only for you as you're updating this annually, it'd be very nice for you to have all of your original documents and the amendments all in one place. But then with a spouse who maybe has not been interested in going to every meeting, now coming into the first time and looking at this, it'd be nice for them to see the progression of these documents that you had put together. So again, we just talked about secure it. So store it in something that's fireproof, cloud encrypted. We've got, safety deposit box, all of the safety measures that we need in today's world. Make sure that it is safeguarded. And also, as the world gets better and better at doing bad things, also make sure you're updating your cybersecurity to keep pace with that as people figure out more and more ways to break into secured files. So that's also something I want you guys to be looking at annually, is not only are my files updated, is my security around those files also updated to keep pace with what's going on in the world. And then also be prudent. So the essential file is going to contain a lot of private and personal information. So you really need to be, I would say, just be conscientious of who needs to know about it. And then just be wise with what information you're sharing from this essential file to everyone, because not everyone needs to know, but you do need to have a few people that do know. So find those trusted advisors, those trusted people in your life, and just share with them, here's what it is, here's where it is, here's how you access it, and just, make sure those people know. Right. So anything you want to add, Dad, before I come in for a landing?
Don't be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing you have to admit is this is beyond me and it's too overwhelming. Okay, it is what it is, gravity exists, but we all have to deal with it. This is overwhelming. but don't be overwhelmed,
Yeah.
right? Nobody can do a great job right out of the gates. You can't do it. So just do a good job and see this as not only a gift to those who might be, settling in a state, which this would be very valuable for, but a gift to future generations of you speaking to their life long after you're gone. That's worth some effort. That's a lot of fun, I think. I think the legacy wealth part of this, that's the fun part. And I like some of the logistic wealth. That's kind of fun too. The ledger wealth stuff, it's stuff. It's fine.
People. I love the people.
Yeah. We make a living managing ledger wealth stuff. So I don't mean to be ungrateful or indifferent, but really what gets me jazzed are the people. Yeah. And so it's worth it. As we say all the time, your family is worth it. Get a copy of this. We encourage you to start thinking this through. And again, we'll let you know when we make significant renditions to it, because there's already things we're thinking, gee, how can we do that better? We're always trying to think about that. So what we just want to do is to put something in your hands, at least in this first of a couple deliverables we're working now here at Navigating Abundance, to not only, to take from what we're saying on paper, total family wealth, and now actually putting some meat to the bones on here's some stuff that you can do to start making that happen. We haven't done it heretofore other than encouraging you through podcasts. Now we're saying, okay, take a look at that and let's start working on it, right?
Yeah. And the biggest thing too is that we're here to help. I think you can really get a sense of our spirit of just wanting to help and come alongside you when it comes to such a large but important file for you to put together. So as Dad said, that here at Navigating, we just always say that it's about advancing the pursuit of total family wealth. And we created this essential file to be a valuable tool towards that end. So if you'd like to further explore how you can best apply the essential file to your family's total capital, we would be so happy to help answer a phone call, help you through this, and to talk with you about it and just kind of cast some vision and give some encouragement on areas to think things through. So go to our website, navigatingabundance.com, for contact information on how to reach us. And also, I think we're going to be putting this on our website. Is that correct? Okay. So this will be up on our website. That you can grab it and download it. And again, as you're leafing through it, please use us as a resource. We'd be happy to do that.
Yes, thank you very much, guys. If you have any comments too, don't hesitate. We're just trying to be helpful. That's all we're trying to do, and that is the fun part of our lives. So I appreciate you tuning in. It means a lot to us. If we can just if we can encourage one another, you, us, and us, you, fabulous, fabulous. All right. So this is Chris Tanke with Navigating Abundance with my daughter, Stephanie Greene, with an E on the last of it.
With an E.
E-E-N-E. Reminding you again, the reason we go through all this work, and this has been a lot of work. I'm kind of tired. This has kind of kicked me around a little bit, but I thought it was so important to do. Why? Because just like my family, your family is worth it.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Navigating Abundance. If you enjoyed this content and you'd like to see more of it in the future, please consider subscribing. If you'd like to join the conversation, leave a comment below on whatever platform that you're watching on. And if you'd like to learn more about Navigating Abundance, visit us at navigatingabundance.com.